Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I am Eric, and today I am talking about Cedar Fair. Possibly the best chain of amusement parks with the best roller coasters in the world. There are many great ones, so today I am ranking my top 20 favorite roller coasters at Cedar Fair parks. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel so you know when new coaster content comes out. Now, for the list, I should point out some parks and rides I've not been to. First of all, I've only been to Knott's Berry Farm, Cedar Point, Carowinds, King's Dominion, Kings Island, and Canada's Wonderland. And I have not been on some of the newest coasters at these parks. I have not been on Copperhead Strike, Mystic Timbers, Orion, Yukon Striker, or Twisted Timbers. I also missed Silver Bullet at Knott's Berry Farm because it was closed, not because it's new, because it is not. And in terms of this list, there are 20 coasters here, so you are bound to disagree with some. So just keep that in mind. It's entirely subjective, everyone has different experiences and opinions on roller coasters. Let's get into the countdown. Number 20 is Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm. This one I think is a little overrated, but still a very good ride. I like the drop with the holding brake. There are decent moments of airtime, not a whole lot of hang time to it. It's pretty intense. It's not very smooth. I thought it would be a lot smoother. And it's a good ride. I personally think it's not my favorite Gerstlauer. That would go to Daredevil Dive at Six Flags Over Georgia. But hang time is very good. And it earned a spot in the top 20, just barely. Number 19 is Afterburn at Carowinds. A pretty big jump from 20 to 19 here. Afterburn is an intense B&M invert, and it's pretty good, but I think its layout is weaker than the vast majority of the others. The intensity is really what makes the ride, but it's still not up there with, say, Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa, and there are other inverts that I think are better overall. Number 18, Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm. This is very good. The launch out of the station, excellent. I love good launches. This one's great. After that, the layout kind of thins out. It's not as intense as you may think it would be, and it's short, which you'd expect, but the fact that it's short's not a huge deal. I just think most of the others have much more memorable elements and better layouts overall, and they feel like more full experiences. And while this one's launch is great, it doesn't really carry the ride as much as it could. Nonetheless, a great ride. Number 17 is Valravn at Cedar Point. Yes, the B&M dive coaster is outranking Accelerator. I like dive coasters a lot, and Valravn's really good. The drop is excellent, it feels intense, the inversions are all great. The only issue I have with the ride is the mid-course brake run. I don't think vest restraints are bad, and I think it's a very good roller coaster. It's not the best. As far as Cedar Point goes, it's very far from the best actually, but I think it is a very good roller coaster. Number 16 is the Beast at Kings Island. Hear me out, I've not been on this one in a while, and also, I just had a really good ride on it. It was really fun, surprisingly intense, and the fact that it's long is very good, and I love the terrain. I just thought it was a really fun ride to be on. Maybe not as forceful as some others, but I thought it was perfectly smooth, and a really fun one overall. And the long ride really helps here, as it gives you more time to enjoy the ride. Number 15 is Raptor at Cedar Point. This is a great B&M invert, much better than Afterburn for me as it's just as intense but has a much better layout, and is honestly probably more intense. It's a really good one, and I used to have Valravn above it, but nah, I can't say that anymore. Valravn is good, but Raptor's just amazing. Really awesome roller coaster. Not much else I need to say. Number 14 is Dominator at King's Dominion. This is, in my opinion, the most underrated coaster of all time. It is really close, if not in, my top 25, and it's the best floorless I've ever been on. I've been on Kraken, Rougarou, and some others, and this is the best one I've been on. It's really intense, perfectly paced, perfectly smooth, a long ride, and it's just really, really fun. An absolute blast. Most underrated coaster I've been on, not much else I need to say. It's just excellent. Number 13, Intimidator at Carowinds. As far as B&M Hyper goes, this is kind of bottom tier, but bottom tier for B&M Hypers is basically the equivalent of bottom tier of RMC hybrids. B&M hybrids are great. This one is excellent floater airtime, and I love that. I think it's a really fun ride, though compared to others on here, it doesn't feel quite as thrilling, I would say. It's large and fun, but there are others I think are a lot better. Number 12 is Gatekeeper at Cedar Point, another very underrated roller coaster. This one is just really, really fun. I love the drop, all the inversions are great, the airtime hill is way better than people give it credit for, it's perfectly smooth but also very intense, the keyhole elements are very fun, it's a really, really good ride, and I think it is one of the best at Cedar Point, top 5 in fact, hence why it is underrated. And it is definitely a great ride, and I hope to get on more wing coasters soon because this one's awesome. Number 11, Banshee at Kings Island. Hear me out, this is the best B&M invert I've been on. I'm a huge fan of Montu, but I give this one an edge. People say it's rough, I disagree wholeheartedly. I thought it was perfectly smooth, the elements, and the layout as a whole is better than any other B&M invert without a doubt. It's almost as intense as Montu, paced just as well. It's just a fantastic ride. Definitely my favorite B&M invert, and one of the best rides at Kings Island. Number 10 is Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. You may start to notice a trend from this point on. There are a lot of larger scale coasters like Gigas and Hypers, and Behemoth's a great hyper coaster. The first drop is probably my top 5 I've ever been on. No one talks about it, but it really makes my stomach drop every time. The airtime hills are really good. The intensity is pretty strong throughout. The turnaround is good. Pacing at the end may be a little weaker, but I think it's one of the most intense and thrilling B&M hypers there is. Number 9, Intimidator 305. I know this will anger a lot of people. Only 9th. A lot of people say it's the best in the world. This ride is overrated for me. The intensity is good. I argue the intensity is not as fun as it is on other roller coasters like one I'll get to later. And while it is intense, it's just not as thrilling in a fun way. It's not as enjoyable. The lack of airtime is really something that gets me here. And while it is still a fantastic elite roller coaster, it just does not deliver a ride experience that I enjoy quite as much as the ones above it. I feel like the balance of being out of your seat and glued to your seat is really necessary for the best types of rides. And that's not going to be the rule for every one of them, but this one's intensity really just was not enough to put it any higher on the list. Number 8 is Diamondback at Kings Island. My favorite B&M hyper without a doubt. Excellent airtime, fantastic intensity, the water splash is fun, the drop's great, there's nothing wrong with this one, it's just really, really good. Without a doubt, my favorite of all Kings Island roller coasters. Granted, I have not been on quite a few, but it's very, very good. Number 7, Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. It was tough to give this the edge over Diamondback, but you just feel the height and speed of this whole ride. Not a whole lot of low to the ground elements, but the airtime is unbelievable on this ride. The drop is fantastic. My only issue is that this one does not feel very long. That said, I think it has a much better balance of intensity and airtime than Intimidator 305, and it's a lot more fun overall, and it's just a ride that I would much rather go on again than I-305. Number 6 is Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, currently standing but not operating and hopefully opening up at some point soon. This is one where I get kind of hypocritical, where I said Accelerator's launch is not enough to save it, but Top Thrill Dragster's is. Because man, that launch is good. I'd say it's 3 times anything you get on Accelerator. Unbelievable intensity, especially in the front row. It's a very short ride, no doubt, but that launch sensation beats out anything on any other roller coaster I have ever done. Number 5, Maverick at Cedar Point. I give this a slight edge over Dragster, primarily for still having great launches while being a more complete layout. The turns on this thing are sharp, snappy, and quite intense. The tunnel launch is a highlight of any Cedar Point roller coaster and any Cedar Fair roller coaster. The ride looks beautiful, whether you're on or off it. It is paced phenomenally. All of the elements stand out and are all excellent. this is without a doubt an elite roller coaster, and easily deserving a top 5 spot. Number 4 is Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. This was tough to put here, but I like to call this ride Wood Vengeance, because it's everything Steel Vengeance is, but wooden. It is super intense, incredible airtime, best airtime on any wooden coaster I've ever done, really well paced, a very long ride. The only things that hold us back from being higher are some roughness. It's kind of inconsistent in how rough it is, and then also the first drop is not super strong. That said, it's without a doubt the best wooden coaster I've ever been on. Number 3 is Millennium Force. Ooh yeah, this is my most controversial probably. Putting it that much higher than I-305. You know what? I'm gonna say it right now. Millennium Force is barely less intense than I-305. I said it. It's not as draining in the best possible way. I honestly think I kind of got closer to graying out on Millennium Force than I-305. And this ride is super intense. The first drop absolutely dwarfs I-305. You know what? I'm gonna stop comparing it to I-305. But the first drop is the best of any I've been on. The ride feels long, the airtime is way better than given credit for, and it's just a pretty much flawless roller coaster. Also, that station music, of course, very good, but that doesn't really affect where it places on here. But I just love this ride. Maybe I have a little bit of bias as this was one of my first major roller coasters, but I absolutely adore this thing, and it easily makes my top 3 coasters I've ever been on. Number 2 is Fury 325. Based on this, you can probably already guess number 1, but Fury is excellent. Everything Millennium Force is, but even better. Just as intense, better airtime, better low-to-the-ground elements, perfectly smooth, awesome colors. That's a really fun thing about it. It's an absolutely beautiful roller coaster to look at. It's just near perfection. People say it has a weakness at the end with the turnaround helix type element. I thought it was still very intense. For me, this is the only flawless roller coaster in the world. There's nothing I would change about this one, while even number 1 has one thing I can complain about. That said, number 1 is Steel Vengeance. It is the best. It has much better airtime than Fury. It is super intense, drop unbelievable, super long ride, pacing phenomenal. There is nothing wrong with this ride except for the restraints, which do keep you from getting as good of airtime as on Fury. That said, this ride, we all know how good it is. It's just fantastic. Without a doubt, the best roller coaster I've ever been on, and some may consider this one overrated. Not for me. This one absolutely lives up to the hype and is super, super fun. Just a fantastic ride. And that is my list. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to comment how much you disagree with my list or your own favorite coasters at Cedar Fair. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.